This is More Than Money with Mapalo Makhu, brought to you by Sasfin Wealth.
Welcome to More Than Money. I'm Mapalo Makhu, a personal finance columnist, and I love having money conversations that change people's perspective about finances. Why am I doing this podcast, you might ask? To talk about money. Not the paper stuff. I mean the baggage, the feeling, the emotional, heart-wrenching stuff. We find this conversation so uncomfortable to have, which is why on this podcast, I have decided to have this very difficult conversations. We are going to have some difficult discussions because better money conversations lead to better money confidence, and healthy money dialogue leads to healthy money decisions. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing Sheldon Tatchell, a successful businessman and visionary behind the popular business chain Legends Barber. Sheldon's journey from humble beginnings to building a thriving enterprise serves as an inspiration to many aspiring entrepreneurs. Through his dedication and hard work, he has transformed the barbering industry. Today, we will delve into his upbringing, the inception of Legends Barber, and gain valuable insights into how he manages his finances. Welcome, Sheldon.
Hi, Maps.
Paint it for us, your early life and upbringing, and how did your upbringing influence your journey to entrepreneurship?
As far as the age of 12 years old, the first thing I can remember, my dad giving me spending R2 a day back then.
Mm-hmm.
And that was...
It was quite a lot of money then.
Yeah, but it was, that R2 a day went a long way during the course of the day. But I saved that money for 10 days. So I just decided, I'm going to save this R2, so it equates to 20 Rand. I can remember going to a cash and carry, our local cash and carry, buying a box of ice cream because it was summer back then, and I just said, okay, here's an opportunity, can I buy ice cream? I saw a box of ice cream for 20 Rand, and there was 20 items, 20 units in a pack.
Yeah.
I then came home, sold that ice cream to the people in my neighborhood for R2 each, which actually doubled what I made. And that was one of my first ventures that I went into as a kid. I never knew that it was entrepreneurship, because I scaled it to a point where I had somebody standing with a cooler box during break time. And that was one of those moments where I just enjoyed being able to dive deep into opportunity. Further on, at the age of 13, 14 years old, my dad was working at a factory. At this factory, they produce their products, colognes, skincare. And I asked him for products that he can maybe bring home.
Yeah.
But back then I wasn't in the hair business. It was just something that he coincidentally just brought relaxers and styling gels and stuff like that. So I took those products and I went to basically local salons in my area. I think I approached maybe like 5 salons, and with the proposal, these are the products. If you're keen, I'm going to drop these products here. If you use it and you like it, you can pay me the end of the month. But if you don't use it, you can give me back the products the end of the month. And 2 salons agreed to that. Went end of the month. I got paid for those products, gave my father some money, just being able to replenish.
Yeah.
And also I can remember making my first profit of 250 rands. And I was like, what? I took that money back then, and the first thing I bought was a pair of sneakers and a pair of All-Stars back then. And if you know, All-Stars back then was 250 Rand, not the price what it is today. So that was me as a kid, always looking for opportunities in different places. And then what happened was that at the age of 14 years old, I was like, okay, you know what? This thing of always replenishing stock, you understand? Sometimes people don't buy it. So it was always a matter of how do I sell my time instead of always selling products?
Yes.
And at the age of 14 years old, I saw barbershops being a demand in the community. And the barber was basically the guy that's in demand. And sometimes the barber would just not respect clients or honor his times that he's supposed to be working, you understand? So it was much more informal, and I saw an opportunity there. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let me learn the skill. I then went out to different barbers in my community, just seeing what they're doing. Came home, asked my dad to buy me a clipper. He agreed, and practiced basically the methods that I saw these guys using. Every Saturday I'll go to these guys and just go steal with my eye, because those were the busiest days. And they would chase me away where Saturday and I'll just return the next Saturday with a bottle of cold drink as a bribe for my next lesson. And that's how I learned how to cut hair. So right across from where we lived, there was a school. There was a primary school and a secondary school. And I used to be that barber that used to give free haircuts. So kids used to line up there and I just used to give free haircuts in order to better my skill.
What is it about you that compelled you to put yourself out there, basically?
One of the main drivers I feel compelled me to do this, and I'm not sure was it a matter of instinct, but it was the condition that I lived in. I mean, I come from a very poor background where there was a time in my life where both my parents weren't working. And during that time was a time where pushed me to come up with different ways and means in order to help my parents, in order to contribute to at least being able to put bread on the table. Yeah. And I feel that's one of the reasons that compelled me to be in a situation where I am able to provide. When I started charging for a haircut, I mean, I used to charge like 5 rand, 10 rand. This was the time when I was 14 years old. And as little as that, it used to be a way that, you know what, now I can at least be able to buy potatoes or mealie meal, or you understand, it was...
There's food in the house.
There's at least food in the house, you understand.
Yes.
And I think poverty did play such a big role in my life. I can remember at the time when I matriculated, I never had funds to actually buy myself clothing, like suits and the matric dance, you understand. And everyone is looking forward to it. Everyone's looking forward to having the latest outfits and tailored suits and all of that stuff. So for me, I wasn't in a position to afford it. And I can remember what happened was that my girlfriend at the time, her mom make fun of us not having enough. She just throws up remarks about how can she be dating a guy that doesn't have money. You understand? It just doesn't make sense. So what happened was that she contributed towards me getting a suit, and the deal was that she's going to pay for it because she wanted the daughter to look good. You understand? And as soon as the banquet was finished, she requested money to pay back that funds that she didn't want us to bring back the suit. So being able to go through not only that type of event, but many events prior to that has definitely put me in a situation as to how do I overcome the narrative, you understand? How do I break free from this poverty that surrounds me? How am I able not to take care of my parents, but now also how am I going to be the man in future that's daughter or son goes to a matric dance and don't have enough money to buy for them a suit? It goes deeper than just wanting to make money, and I feel like that has been one of the major driving factors behind why I wanted to be successful one day. It's a thing where you can put bread on the table and you can take care of your family, but now being in a position that I am today, it's not only about taking care of my family, now it's taking care of my 600 employees' families, you understand, because it's a lot of responsibility. Yeah, so I think it has shifted so much that I feel no one has to go through a struggle like I did, and just being able to give opportunity for those in need.
Sure, it always fascinates me how our upbringing and the things that have happened to us shape how we see ourselves and how we want to overcome. And for me, it sounds like, you know what, we've had a lot of adversity growing up in poverty, where you said, you know what, this is not going to be my story. How do you think you are teaching your kids to have the same mentality and drive? Because they are growing up in a much better situation than when you grew up.
I don't think you can instill drive by doing X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
I do feel that you can teach them the principles of being wealthy one day. You can definitely teach them the principles of being able to take care of their finances, being able to achieve certain things. They're in a much fortunate position being where they are, and what you can only do is just give them the best and give them principles in order for them to succeed one day.
So when you were building Legends Barber, obviously there were challenges along the way. Back then, it was not what it is today. Is there a moment when you felt like giving up?
Of course. This is a real-life entrepreneur.
Yes.
You go through moments, and there's been numerous occasions. Just to give you an example, when Legends started out, fast forward from being able to cut hair at my mom's place. So my cousin had an internet cafe, and I asked him if I can make use of his basically just to mimic a pop-up barber and just to start out something that I enjoy doing. And thus he agreed with the condition that I only cut hair on weekends. So I said, okay, no problem. This was back in 2011.
Yeah.
I can remember being able to start out only with a clipper and a chair, nothing else. And with this, people came to me in numbers, and I'm wondering why is people actually coming to Kamkate at me, because back then was that I only marketed during Facebook.
Yeah.
It's only my close circle of friends that I used to market to. But it was different types of faces that I saw on a weekly basis. And mind you, there's barbers across the road from me. There's barbers right across the road from them. So what makes you different? And I went to these barbers and I went to go see what they're doing and trying to understand why they do what they do. And I realized that for them it was much more of a monetary transaction, and I could understand based on the circumstances.
Yes.
But when somebody came to come sit on my chair, it was much more about building a relationship. And how I done this was, after each and every customer, I would write down your name and the conversation that we had. And next time you come sit on my chair, I would make reference to that conversation. So I'd always have a notebook on me.
If someone feeling like my barber actually knows me.
Yes, and that's what people long for. And I feel like it's even much more about today as well, because you want that authentic customer service, that you want to be seen, you understand. And people want a sense of belonging. And that's something that I gave off. So then, while things got busy on the stoop, and I got a friend on board to come and assist me, I then, because I know him so long, I just said, you know what can I make you a part of this business? And basically we just shake hands, and I just made him a partner, and it was just like that. And it was one of those decisions that was much more on emotion than anything else. We moved into a premises not far away from where the stoop was. A small space, like around 30 squares. And that's when we started building this. So basically with the money that we made from the stoop, we helped fund this project. And each and every day went by, and the money that we made just funded the next thing, the next item. And that's how we built, basically just reinvesting in what we had. Before we moved into the premises, we spoke to the landlord, and it was one of those places where it was unleased, so you don't actually get the lease. So he told us that straight away, if you don't pay rent here, you're going to be out. You understand? So it's like just straightforward. So what happened was, we launched on the 1st of September that same year, and things just started picking up. We started getting local guys on board to come and assist us. When things got a bit quiet, especially during the week, we went out to old age homes and we went out to schools. We done it of a initiative to keep ourselves busy, but also practice. I really enjoyed it because it was a sense of being able to help someone and being able to give somebody a haircut just means the world to them. And that's where the name comes from. The name actually came from us serving our elders at the old age home, because they are the legends of our community.
You are listening to More Than Money, a podcast collaboration brought to you by Sasfin Wealth. At Sasfin Wealth, we empower our clients to reach their global investment goals, to retire with dignity, and to leave a lasting legacy. If you would like to have real money conversations, visit sasfin.com/wealth and talk to us. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
So I got married the 4th of December 2011. I went on honeymoon. I can remember just before I went on honeymoon, my partner showed me that, don't worry, I got everything under control on the business. And this year, I just gave me reassurance.
Yes, you trusted your partner. You've been working with him for months now.
6 days away, I came back unannounced and the doors were closed. And I was like, okay, what's happening here? It was just shocking because December is busy.
It's quite busy, yes.
I called him up, didn't answer his phone, called one of the guys that was working there, and I was like, what's happened? The shop is closed. And he explained to me that he never paid the guys, because back then the guys used to get paid on a daily basis. So basically how they work was on commission basis. So, and also he never allocated funds to pay the rent. And the landlord put us out, and standing in front of those doors, I was so disappointed. So I gave him control over accounts, and basically before I went away, I just gave him a brief, make sure this has happened, make sure that's happened. But being as it may, I just felt like maybe this is not for me. Maybe I was just trying to do something that's out of my reach. Felt disappointed in myself, and I felt that I disappointed the people that was working there, the customers that came there. And I left barbering right there and then, and I just decided I'm just going to continue working in a 9-to-5 job. Went back to working at Standard Bank. I was still working at Standard Bank, and this was just my part-time hustle, but working at Standard Bank, just being able just to be that 9-to-5 employee.
Why did it hit you so hard? It truly wasn't your fault at the end of the day.
I think it was much more about responsibility. The thing is, when you start hiring people, you felt obliged to make sure that the salary is paid.
Yes, because you're feeding more than one mouth. You're feeding more than just the employee.
Just one person. So you do feel type of responsibility. And also customers, it's a thing where those people that believe in you, that's been supporting you, that has your back, you understand? Those are the people that comes in there week in, week out, that continues just to be the advocate for what you're trying to build. that's one of the main reasons why I felt so disappointed.
Yeah. And what happened to your relationship with your business partner?
Wow. I never saw him. I never saw him since that day. Craziest thing is that first time I saw him after that whole experience was a time when Legends was running, and basically we went about our business, and I met him in a mall where we had a store. And this was maybe say about 3 years ago maybe.
Sure.
Because I thank God for that experience, because if it wasn't for that experience, that you would never understand what it is to fail. You never understand what it is to regroup, come back stronger. And I think God purposely just puts people in your life for a certain season, and once that season is over, you have to understand that it's time for them to move on.
And I think a lesson that we can learn is to get to know the people you want to partner with. So you have to know their character.
Business is something else. Since that time, I never had any partners in the business, and purely for the fact that you can be friends, but once you start talking about numbers and once you start talking about bringing accounts in, then
and the commitment levels
and now start testing whether this person is really genuine.
Yes.
Because money can bring out the best or the worst in you. It all depends the type of person that you are.
It just amplifies who you already are.
It just amplifies who you are, yeah.
So when did you get back after, you were knocked down and feeling very disappointed with the 10 out? When did you decide, you know what, let me give this another try?
So 2013, while working at the bank, I bought myself a scooter and decided, you know what, let me give it a try and basically start out on a smaller scale. Right now, I don't have any employees. It's just me. I'm going to be cutting hair.
Yes.
And I took a scooter, and after hours, so I used to work till about 4 o'clock, and after hours used to be the time when I used to go out to customers. And on weekends also, and go cut hair. That used to be my routine. I was speaking to this one customer, till this day is my close friend. And the one thing he always reminded me is that that's the reason I couldn't find a booking during the day, because you had your day job and you never told me about it. So that was me just trying to get back into the swing of things, because I was known as the mobile barber. And slowly but surely I started building a clientele base. In 2014, the 26th of July, I decided that I'm going to give it another shot. Right now, I'm using lessons learned over this years, being able to sharpen my skills. And I do think now is the right time for me to go into business. Started out, regained the trust of the guys that used to work at the old store, and basically relaunched Legends in the Alvarado Park. A week later, I tendered my resignation at the bank. And I can remember my manager at the time, when I spoke to him and I told him that I'm going to become a barber, he just laughed at me and he says, "Who does that? Just let me know if you need your job back, because what you're doing is crazy." So he's been waiting for me to come back.
All these years.
Yeah, so then the rest was history. I mean, like, that's when I got back into the hang of things.
And now let's talk about the people you hire. They are normally people in your community and they are colored. Why is that?
To start off with, it's much more about being able to provide that opportunity to start off.
Within your community.
In my community, because I come from a colored community, and just felt like I'm willing to be able to at least help the next person also have a skill, and also being able to work in a business. And that for me was just wanting to make a difference, because we saw how the colored community is struggling, and there's not much things out there for them to have. Being raised in the Alvarado Park, we know that there is a lot of things that happen, but there's also good people that's coming from the community. And just to identify that good people and say, you know what, we are going to grow together and we are going to lift this brand up. And eventually, as things started expanding, people from different communities benefited. For example, in a community like, let's say, the whole region of KZN, for example, everyone that works in KZN is black, you understand?
Yes.
So I think it really depends on the community to say, because the customer can relate much more to the person that comes from that specific community. It's quite tough to be able to relate, not only from a culture point of view, but also from a language point of view, that we are from the same location, that we are...
Yeah, we can connect in that way.
We can connect in that way. And I think that's vital. And Legends continue to strive in that way, because it's not only providing jobs for the communities, but it's building that culture within the store where people feel connected.
Just looking at yourself growing up, were there role models in your community? Because I can imagine right now when people look at you from your community, you are quite the role model.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, like the other day I was driving in my community and my mom pointed out there's actually a painting of me that I didn't know of, like a mural.
Yes.
It was really amazing to see that because there's not much role models. I mean, growing up, the only role models that I can remember is the gangsters, the drug dealers, the people that drove the nice cars, and those were the people that we wanted to become.
Sure.
Those were the people that we wanted to emulate because they have access to riches. They have access to...
But it doesn't last.
Of course, but that was the role models that we had. And time went on, it just changed my whole perspective of the type of people that I look up to.
So now let's talk about you start making money. What was one of the mistakes you made?
Wow, there was many mistakes. And how crazy it is that us as black people, we're scared to talk about money.
Yes.
It's always that narrative. Even if you look at why majority of marriages, especially in the black community, it's like marriages don't work out because of arguments of money and stuff like that. But one of the mistakes I've made was doing something that I'm not passionate about. And as the years went on, we tried to diversify. And the most natural thing to do is to look at salon.
Yeah.
And it was early on in my business. So I think we had about 3 stores at the time. And I decided, look, you know what, come and look at opening a salon. So maybe open a Legends salon. That didn't work. It only lasted for like 4 months, 5 months max.
Yes.
And things just went pear-shaped from there, and I just canned it. But there's many examples. And that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. You understand, you learn so much as you go. And one thing that I would say, any advice that I would give anyone is that try as much to stick to your core business as possible. Try as much to emphasize on your core business because your core business is what's going to keep you going for many years to come. There's definitely lessons learned because if I wasn't being able to be so experimental, I would never experience that, you understand? And until this day, I still make mistakes. I still make money mistakes. I think back on it and I'm like, you know what, that was a bad move. And sometimes we blow all our money on an idea thinking that this is going to be the next thing. This is going to be the next big thing. If you think about investing, we don't have people that we can look up to necessarily and say, you know what, because this person has left this trail for us to follow, we're going to follow suit, you understand? So if you look at the communities that we come from, people always make emotional decisions when it comes to money.
Absolutely.
And what happens is that those emotional decisions end up getting us into more trouble.
You got married, you said, in December.
Yes.
Were you having money conversations?
Yes, of course. Especially when I left my job to become full-time. Being able to break the silence to say that I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to focus on this thing on a full-time basis. I would say that she was concerned.
Of course you would be.
Yeah, because it wasn't guaranteed. It was never guaranteed.
How long before you left your job were you having this conversation?
When I left my job, August of that same year, I assured her that with my pension fund, I will be able to at least make provision for the next 5 months.
Yes.
And that would be able to at least secure an income, while I'm busy focusing on building this business. Because that's one thing that she needed assurance on to say, what are we going to do? But I would say that it was definitely tough. It wasn't the easiest conversation that we had, but it was definitely for the better. And I think once you have a spouse that just supports you.
Yes.
I mean, that's all you need as an entrepreneur. You don't need anything else. You just need support. I've got everything under control at home. You go fly your wings and go do what you're supposed to do.
And how does she feel now about the business? Looking at all the obstacles you've overcome. And surely, I mean, as an entrepreneur, there's still challenges that you're facing.
I think it just gives a sense of gratitude that everything that we work for. And I would say this publicly is that the sacrifice that she has made in order not to be with her husband as much, it does definitely yield results. So she is definitely in a position where we are able to cater for things, and she has come on board and been part of the team now, I think for like 3 or 4 years, where she is now working at our head office. And I mean, like, she's played a big role in the business as well. And it's much more about how do we build this together? How do we make the dream become reality?
How has your lifestyle changed in terms of your household as you became more financially stable through your businesses?
The craziest thing is I still live in the same house since 2011.
Why did you make that decision not to move to something better? As you'd often find that, you know, the more financially stable or more money you make, you know, you want to start driving the flashy car, the houses, everything.
It doesn't mean that you're in a position of willingness to being able to afford all of these luxury things that you have to do it. If you feel comfortable where you are, or the clothing you wear, or the car that you have, why must you change it?
Yes.
And with that being said, I think I've always treated money as a source of reinvesting. I always seen money as a way to say, you know what, how do I actually work out the investment that we're going to need in the next 5 to 10 years? Making smart investment decisions and also saving for things that might come one day.
Yes.
That we don't know, you understand? Yeah. Because everyone raving about 2020 is going to be the great year and just look like that. It's just poof, we're all in lockdown and being able to survive that.
Yes.
So if you're looking at just blowing it all up in one go, you're not thinking for the next generation.
How did you survive COVID?
We were on lockdown for about 5 months.
Yeah.
And during that time, like the pattern that we do is we always save funds. And we were able to not only pay for our rentals, we were able to pay for our salaries on a monthly basis. We were able to not only pay for the salaries, but also to help our employees, families with food parcels and all of these things, you understand? So we managed. We managed to survive. And I think it's those moments where you see true businesses come out. Because if you're not struggling during a time of a crisis, and if you're trying to look as to where the next funds will come from, then it does raise eyebrows. Because in essence, you want to be in a position where if something should happen today, that you are able to pay for your staff salaries for next 6 to 12 months.
Do you apply the same philosophy when it comes to your own personal finances? So having an emergency fund, always making sure that you're not living up to the maximum of what you're earning?
Yes, I would say that one of the things that I do is that I try to live a minimal lifestyle. My lifestyle is as minimal as possible. And the reason I say so is that I hardly go on fancy vacations. I'm not a weekend nightclub. You understand? I'm not that guy. I'd rather use my personal funds to benefit the next person and see how can we enrich the lives of the next person. And just some of the things that we do on a weekly basis, and there's something I'm still in my kids, is that when you see somebody on the road, it doesn't mean that they chose to be there. So if you can buy a bread or keep something with you, whether it's a luncheon or something, and being able to bless that person, even if it's one person that you're helping,
that goes a long way.
It will definitely help a lot.
What are you teaching your kids about money?
My daughter can understand much more. My son is still too young. So one principle that I instilled in her is a principle that's biblical, is that if you take care of the little, you'll be able to get more. If you are faithful with the little, you'll be able to get more. And that's a principle that I try to instill into her, is that whatever you have now, just don't look at the next moment to spend it, because most of the time we are emotional beings, you understand? So if something does come about, if you see a shoe that's going on sale, if you want to buy it right now, but being able to have the discipline and say, you know what, I don't need it right now. That's a want. I think that's where you draw in the line. Like, for example, like one of the things that my father taught me, and I'll remember this for many years to come, is that money doesn't get old. And I thought about it and I was like, why do you say money doesn't get old? And he explained to me the concept. He said, if you have a 10 rand today, you're going to act out the emotion to spend that money right now because you are thinking about that it's going to get old, you understand it? And the whole concept around it is that even if people owe you money, they still need to pay you because of the knowledge of money doesn't get old. And it sounds weird, but if you take it into a context of today's life, people want everything fast. People want
right
everything now. It's instant gratification.
Let me wear the best shoes. Let me drive the best car.
Yes.
It completely even disregarding whether you actually have the money or not.
Or you can afford it or not. If you're putting yourself at the disposition to bend over backwards just to please other people, then there's really something wrong, because you have to think about that same money that you have now. How can you reinvest it? How can you save it? There's not the right way and there's not the wrong way. If you think about it, across the world, people look at money at a different perspective. One important lesson is that you have to be able to not be an emotional person when you're making decisions, but muchly on your needs, that when you make that decision that you actually benefit in yourself.
Sheldon, your barbershop, Legends Barber, it's so popular across South Africa. It's quite a significant brand with celebrities and young people. And yet here you are, a very calm person. What is happening here?
I think I've always tried to maintain a humble approach, because one thing that you understand is that for myself, the way I see my life is that I'm just a steward. Whatever God has entrusted me with, if there's a crisis like the lockdown that takes place, and I'm a steward of being able to take care of his people, and I'm going to take that money and spend it on myself. So being a good steward is one thing, because it's quite tough to go into the narrative of that it's only through me and I own these things. I have this mentality that I own nothing. Once you realize that you own nothing, that everything that you own is God's, and the decisions that you made is just based on stewardship. So for example, if the business is struggling right now, I know that I'm just a steward and God takes care of the business. If the business is on a high, God is blessing the business. You understand? So a steward not only of the business, of finances, in everything that you do.
I think your principle of looking at life and looking at money, it frees you of people pleasing, I guess.
Yeah. Because what then happens is that you are now on a different mindset. Because everyone is looking at month end to have the next best income, whereas you live on day to day knowing that God will provide whatever is there. And I think around most wealthy people, I mean, there was a time when I went to go visit Ivan Saltzman and I cut his hair. So Ivan Saltzman is the founder of Discam. And I spoke to him about his story, and very remarkable guy. He's in his 70s or 80s now, and he follows the same principle, is that he uses money to rather reinvest in the business and rather look at opportunities where he can build a generational wealth for his family, for his foundation. That is the thing that you can leave behind. Once you are able to not make a difference on this lifetime, that you can make a difference even when you're not around, and then you know that you've done something good.
That is massive impact. What legacy do you want to leave for your children?
I would never want to leave them money, because I would love them to understand the concept that nothing is easy. Anything that you want, you have to work for it. Anything that is out there, you have to be able to sweat for it, because once you start getting things easy, it goes as fast as it can.
Yeah.
We heard many stories of guys winning lottos, and once you understand the value of money, once you understand the principle behind it, and then you'll understand that, you know what, somebody actually took time to not only show me what it is to follow these principles, but to also apply it on my daily life. So basically going back to the legacy is them understanding the know-how on how to make money.
What are you afraid of when it comes to money?
I'd say that not being in a position to cater for OPEX and your operational expenses, which is on a monthly basis. And I think that's been one of those things where you rather put that first. You understand, making sure that your operational expenses is covered. God forbid people don't come to stores. God forbid a crisis happens. God forbid something happens. You want to at least be in a position to say, you know what, it's fine. It's fine. And you don't have to look at alternative ways. Just to give you an idea, one of my biggest fears is laying somebody off. I never want to do that.
And in times when you've had to do that?
I never laid somebody off.
What if they don't have good character? Let's say they are late all the time.
No, that's a different situation. But in terms of the business not having money
I hear you.
in order to pay the salary, the disciplinary process, of course, that needs to be followed. But being able to lay somebody off based on you not having finance to cater for the monthly salaries is a big concern.
What do you hope for Legends Barber going forward in the next 5-10 years?
What I hope for is that we continue to strive not only to provide a quality service across all stores, but I really hope that Legends takes on a empowerment for the different communities and cements itself along those players that local barbers can say, you know what, it's because of Legends where I am today. And it's because of Legends that I'm able to put food on my table. And I think if Legends can play the role of being able to upskill the local barber, even if it's one barber at a time, helping them orchestrate their business into something they can talk about one day, I think Legends has achieved something.
Sheldon, thank you so much for sharing your remarkable story, the ups and downs, the tears, and just forging through with your business truly is commendable. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was a Sasfin Wealth podcast. Visit sasfin.com/wealth for more information.